My sister made a poll about my 8-year-old daughter. What's worse, her crooked haircut or her nasty attitude? Our whole family voted. They laughed. My daughter locked herself in the bathroom and cried until she could barely breathe. I didn't cry. I stayed quiet. And 6 hours later, they all wished I hadn't. Before we dive into it, tell me in the comments where you're from. I love seeing the different places people tune in from. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss more stories like this. Now let's get into it. The sound came first, soft, uneven sobs seeping through the bathroom door. When I pushed it open, Mia sat on the tile floor, knees pulled to her chest, hands covering her face. The tablet beside her glowed in the dim light. I didn't have to ask what happened. The poll was still on the screen. What's worse, her crooked haircut or her nasty attitude? Over 100 votes. All familiar names. Aunts, uncles, cousins. Every laughing emoji felt like a slap. She's 8, one of them had written. Already got her mama's mouth. More laughter. It didn't sound like family, it sounded like a pack. Mia looked up, tears streaking her cheeks. Why do they hate me? She whispered. My throat tightened. I wanted to tell her they didn't mean it, that it was just a joke. But it wasn't. I turned off the screen and pulled her close. It's okay, baby, I said, steady, quiet. Mommy's got it. She nodded against my shoulder, her little body trembling. When she finally fell asleep, I stood by her bed and stared at her uneven bangs, the tiny scab on her chin from trying to cut her own hair. Sarah had posted that picture. Sarah, the sister everyone adored, the one who could do no wrong, the one who called her cruelty humor. I sat down at my desk, the house heavy with silence. I didn't feel rage, just precision. There's a moment when the heart stops begging for fairness and starts planning. I reached for my laptop, opened it, and whispered to no one. You picked the wrong kid, Sarah. And that's when it started. Sarah had always known how to fill a room. Even as kids, she was the one everyone looked at first, the one with the louder laugh, the quicker comebacks, the kind of sparkle people called charming. I was just her shadow, the quiet sister who helped clean up after her messes. When she got caught sneaking out, I was the one who lied for her. When she cried, I was the one who comforted her. Mom used to say, you two balance each other out. But balance isn't the same as being equal. I learned early that some people shine by dimming others. At family dinners, Sarah's stories always ended with everyone laughing, and somehow, I was always the punchline. Lena takes everything so seriously, she'd say, rolling her eyes, and the table would erupt. I used to laugh along just to make it stop. When I got pregnant at 21, the jokes changed. She'd smirk and call me Little Miss Responsibility. Mom said she didn't mean it. Dad told me she was just jealous. But jealousy was too kind a word for what grew between us. Sarah never wanted kids, she said. She liked her freedom. Her life was one long weekend, cocktails, concerts, stories about men who couldn't keep up. Then Mia was born, and suddenly the attention shifted. For the first time, someone in the family wasn't orbiting around her. She didn't take it well. It started small. Maybe you should brush her hair more, she'd say, half laughing. Or, some of us take motherhood too seriously. Every barb disguised as advice, every laugh a test to see how much I'd take. The family joined in, because if Sarah was laughing, everyone else was too. They called it teasing. I called it erosion. Every holiday, every gathering, a little more of my patience wore away. I tried to keep the peace, keep the calm, because that's what quiet people do. We endure. But somewhere deep down, I started taking notes, not on paper, but in memory. Every smirk, every just kidding. Every time she used my daughter's name for a laugh. I didn't know it then, but I was building a map of every line she'd ever crossed. And one day, I would make her walk back over all of them. Mia was asleep, her cheeks still stained from tears. I sat at the kitchen table with the tablet in front of me, its light casting a pale glow across the screen. The poll was still up, the numbers higher now, the laughter louder in the comments. My family's names lined up beneath it like a roll call of betrayal. A cousin joked about bad genes. Another said Mia had her mom's attitude. Then I saw my mother's words. Poor thing takes after her mom. That one stopped me. It wasn't the words, it was how familiar they felt. The same tone she'd used my whole life when Sarah did something cruel, and I reacted. Like it was my fault for feeling anything. I stared at the comment until the lines blurred. Then I took a breath and began. I opened my laptop. No anger, no trembling. Just quiet focus. I took screenshots of everything. the posts, the votes, the comments, the timestamps. One by one, I saved them all. Each image was a truth they couldn't twist later. I moved to old messages next, scrolling through years of small digs and humiliations. Every one of Sarah's little jokes. Every time someone joined in. I saved those too. When I was done, my folders were full. Organized. Clean. It felt like clarity, not chaos. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to defend myself. I only needed to make sure their own words spoke for them. I wrote a single line in the corner of my notebook. If you want to teach someone a lesson, don't raise your voice. Let their own echo destroy them. The rule was simple. No shouting, no revenge that looked like rage. Just exposure. Truth is louder when you whisper it. I turned off the tablet and sat for a while, thinking about Mia. About how she'd asked why they were being mean. I couldn't answer her then, but I knew what to do now. They wanted laughter. What they'd get was consequence. And this time, I wouldn't look away, apologize, or make peace. I would let their own cruelty circle back and find them. Sarah worked at Brookstone Academy, a private elementary school that prided itself on shaping kind, responsible young citizens. I'd heard her brag about it plenty of times. How careful she had to be with her online presence, how the school had strict codes against bullying or inappropriate conduct. She loved reminding everyone she was trusted with managing their social media accounts, the public face of the place. I remembered that now, and the irony made my chest tighten, not with satisfaction but with certainty. I opened my laptop again. The folders I'd built the night before sat waiting, quiet but heavy with truth. I started a new email, subject line clear and direct. No anger, no emotion, just facts. I wrote about the poll, the comments, the history of targeted humiliation toward an 8-year-old child. I mentioned how the person responsible worked at an institution that publicly celebrated empathy. I didn't use dramatic words. I didn't need to. I attached the files, one after another, screenshots, chat messages, timestamps. Each one was a piece of the story Sarah had created herself, and now I was simply handing it back. I reread the email twice, searching for any trace of pettiness. There was none. It read like a report. Precise. Calm. Unshakable. My cursor hovered over send. For a moment, I thought of all the times I'd stayed quiet for the sake of keeping peace. Every gathering where I'd smiled through her jokes, every time I'd told Mia that family means forgiveness. Maybe it does. But forgiveness without accountability isn't kindness, it's surrender. I clicked send. The sound was small, almost delicate, but it carried more weight than shouting ever could. The email went out to the school principal, the HR department, and the board. Each address confirmed with a blue checkmark. Evidence delivered. I closed the laptop and went to Mia's room. She stirred as I pulled the blanket up around her shoulders, murmuring something in her sleep. I brushed her hair back gently. "It's done," I whispered, though she couldn't hear me. Then I turned off the light and stood in the doorway for a moment. The night felt still, expectant. Waiting wasn't hard anymore. I'd already said everything that needed to be said, just not with words. An hour went by, and the house stayed still. No messages, no movement, only the quiet hum of night pressing against the windows. I sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the dark screen of my phone. I didn't expect a response that fast. I just waited, steady, patient. Then 2 hours in, it started. My phone buzzed once, then again, then nonstop. Sarah's name lit up the screen first, then Mom's, then Cousin's. Missed call after missed call stacked on top of each other until the notification bar filled. I didn't answer. I didn't even open the messages. When the calls stopped, I opened the group chat instead. New messages flooded in, frantic and messy. Someone wrote, "What happened?" Another said, "Sarah's freaking out. Someone reported her." Then came the excuses. "It was just a joke. No one meant any harm. You should have talked to us first." None of them apologized to Mia. Not once. Every word was about damage control, not regret. I kept scrolling until I saw that Sarah had deleted the poll. Every trace of it gone. Her account now clean, profile picture replaced, posts wiped. It was almost funny how quickly the laughter disappeared when consequences arrived. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Silence was saying everything for me. The chat kept buzzing, a stream of chaos I refused to join. One cousin blamed me for overreacting. Another defended Sarah, claiming I'd ruined her career. Someone even tried to guilt me with family loyalty. But loyalty isn't obedience. And love isn't blind. I placed the phone face down on the coffee table and exhaled. For the first time all night, I felt something loosen inside me. I walked to Mia's room. She was still asleep, her little hand resting over her cheek, her breathing soft and steady. I stood there for a long moment, listening. It wasn't victory that settled over me. It was quiet. Clean, uncomplicated quiet. The kind that comes after years of noise. For once, I didn't feel the need to explain, defend, or forgive. I just watched my daughter sleep, knowing she was safe, knowing I had finally done something right. The world outside could keep buzzing. I was done answering. By morning, the quiet had turned into noise again. My phone started ringing before the sun came up. First Mom, then 2 cousins, then another. I let it go to voicemail until the calls stopped and the messages began to pour in. Words like, "You need to fix this," and "Do you realize what you've done?" blinked across the screen. Their concern wasn't for Mia. It was for Sarah. I finally answered when Mom called again. Her voice came through sharp, shaking, the kind that used to make me apologize before I even knew why. "They suspended your sister," she said, skipping the greeting. "The school's doing some kind of investigation. Cyberbullying, they called it. They're saying she broke their code of conduct." I waited. There was a pause, as if she expected me to cry or say it was a mistake. I didn't. "Then they're doing their job," I said. The line went silent for a beat. Mom exhaled, angry and afraid all at once. "Lena, she didn't mean to hurt anyone. You know how Sarah is, she jokes too much. You could have talked to her. Family doesn't do this." I stood by the window, watching the early light slide across the street. "Family doesn't laugh at an 8-year-old either," I said quietly. "You all did. I just didn't join in." She started to speak, stopped, then tried again. "You went too far." I almost smiled. "No, Mom." She did. The line fell still again. I could hear her breathing, uneven, searching for something to throw back. But there was nothing left to defend. The silence between us felt heavier than any shouting ever could. When the call ended, I looked out at the yard where Mia's bike leaned against the fence. The world outside looked unchanged, ordinary, like nothing had happened. But something had shifted, something I couldn't undo and didn't want to. I turned off my phone, placed it face down, and let the stillness settle again. The noise had burned itself out. For once, the silence didn't feel empty, it felt earned. By late afternoon, I saw her through the window, Sarah standing on the porch, arms wrapped around herself, hair a mess, eyes red and swollen. She didn't knock right away. She just stood there, hesitating like she wasn't sure if she deserved to. When she finally did, it was soft, almost timid, nothing like the sister who used to command every room. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. She looked smaller somehow, her voice thin. "You ruined me," she whispered, mascara smudged beneath her eyes. I said nothing at first. She waited, trembling, then added, "They suspended me without pay. My boss said they're reviewing everything I've ever posted. Do you have any idea what that means for me?" I met her eyes. "Yes," I said simply. "Do you have any idea what it meant for Mia?" She blinked, the words hitting, but she recovered fast, switching tactics the way she always did. "She's a kid, Lena. Kids bounce back. But me? My career's over. I can't even show my face at work." Her voice cracked, but the tears felt more like strategy than sorrow. "You mocked a child," I said quietly. "You made her cry in her own home. You chose to do that." Sarah stepped closer, her tone shifting, softer now. "You're my sister. We're supposed to protect each other, not destroy each other." Her hand hovered near my arm, seeking sympathy she hadn't earned. "I protected my daughter," I said. "That's what mothers do." Her face twisted, anger flashing through the cracks of her pity. "You think this makes you better than me?" she snapped. "You embarrass the whole family. Everyone's talking about how cold you've become." I held her gaze. "I stopped laughing when you started treating cruelty like comedy." For a second, neither of us spoke. The air between us felt sharp. Sarah's breathing quickened, her expression collapsing between rage and regret. Then she said, almost pleading, "You could have warned me." I shook my head. "You were warned every time I asked you to stop." She took a step back, waiting for me to soften. I didn't. I simply said, "You ruined yourself." Then I closed the door, not fast, not loud, just slow enough for her to feel the weight of it. By evening, the family chat looked like a battlefield. Messages came in so fast the phone could barely keep up. Some were furious, defending Sarah with every excuse they could find. She made a mistake. She didn't mean it. You should have handled it privately. Others, quieter but firm, said what no one had dared to before. She crossed a line. Lena did what any parent would have done. The arguments piled on top of each other until the thread was just noise. Guilt wrapped in justification, loyalty tangled with truth. Reading it felt like standing in the middle of a storm I no longer wanted to be part of. For years, I'd been the one trying to keep peace, trying to smooth things over so everyone else could stay comfortable. Not this time. I scrolled through the chaos one last time and typed nothing. No defense. No explanation. Just silence. Then I pressed leave group. The chat disappeared, taking decades of family memories with it. The quiet that followed didn't feel empty, it felt earned. Later that night, I found Mia sitting on the floor of her room, coloring. When she looked up, there was a small, real smile. Nothing forced, nothing guarded. "You're drawing again," I said. She nodded, a streak of blue across her fingertips. "I like it better when nobody's watching," she murmured. I sat beside her, watching her focus on the page. The lines weren't perfect, the colors bled together, but there was calm in her face I hadn't seen in days. That small piece felt bigger than any victory. As the house settled around us, I realized something I hadn't before. Revenge had never been the goal. It wasn't about making Sarah hurt. It was about stopping the hurt from spreading. Truth had done what anger couldn't. It ended the noise. Mia leaned against my arm, yawning. I brushed her hair back and whispered, "You're okay now." She nodded, half asleep. For the first time in a long time, that felt true. In the end, silence hadn't broken me. It had built something steadier, a kind of closure that didn't need applause or forgiveness. Just peace, quiet, and the space to finally breathe again. 6 hours after everything came apart, a notification appeared on my phone. Sarah had posted again, her face pale and streaked with tears, mascara smudged down her cheeks. The caption read, "This is what happens when family betrays you." It was the kind of drama she'd always mastered. Pain turned into performance. But this time, the audience wasn't playing along. I opened the post out of habit, expecting to see the usual swarm of sympathy. There was nothing. No likes, no hearts, no comments rushing to comfort her. Just silence. Even the people who defended her earlier had gone quiet. The same relatives who once joined in her laughter now avoided her entirely. The silence stretched like a mirror, showing her what she had created and what I had finally stopped tolerating. I didn't comment. I didn't share. I didn't even feel satisfaction. There was no thrill in seeing her undone, no pleasure in her tears. Just stillness. She was learning, in her own way, that silence can sting more than public shame. It lingers longer. I put the phone down and turned toward Mia. She had fallen asleep beside me, one hand resting against my arm, her breathing soft and even. The room was dark except for the faint light from the window, brushing across her hair. I listened to the rhythm of her breathing, the sound of peace returning, slow and steady. I brushed her hand gently and whispered, "She won't do it again." The words weren't a threat, just a truth. Whatever had broken inside Sarah wasn't my doing. It was the reflection she was finally forced to see. Outside, the night was quiet, and the world felt balanced again, even if just for that moment. I closed my eyes, letting the quiet fill the spaces where pain had lived for too long. Mia shifted in her sleep, closer now, her warmth against me grounding everything that mattered. No comments. No laughter. No noise. Just silence, the kind that doesn't hide anything, the kind that finally tells the truth. And as I lay there beside my daughter, I knew this was the ending Sarah never saw coming. Weeks passed, and the noise faded for good. The final call came from an unfamiliar number. A calm voice introduced herself as the principal of Brookstone Academy. She thanked me for bringing the issue forward, said the investigation had concluded. Sarah's employment was officially terminated. The school planned to introduce a new anti-bullying program, one focused on digital behavior and accountability. I listened, said I appreciated their response, and ended the call. There was nothing more to say. When I hung up, the house felt lighter, like something heavy had finally slipped off its hinges. Mia sat at the kitchen table, a towel draped around her shoulders, scissors resting beside her. "Can I?" she asked, holding a strand of her hair. I nodded. She snipped away until her reflection smiled back, uneven but fearless. I like it better short, she said, tilting her head. I smiled. So do I. The sunlight caught on the edges of her hair, and for a second, it felt like the world was breathing again. No whispers, no tension, just quiet truth filling the space between us. That night, when the house went still, I finally let the weight ease out of my chest. It wasn't triumph. It wasn't payback. It was release, the kind that comes when justice doesn't need applause. They thought I'd cry. But some of us don't cry anymore. Some of us just learn how to make silence speak louder than laughter.
Do you think I did the right thing by cutting them off, or should I have given my family another chance? Let me know in the comments. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.